to get going. There we go. We're live. We're live with the most handsome man in MMA, Ethan Goss. What's up, dude?
Am I talking to Luke or am I talking to Hunter here?
I was trying to do my best Luke Payson impression. I don't know how it went. Wasn't quite the intro that Luke usually gets into it, but it was the best I could personally do, you know? What's up,
If
man?
it's the best you could do, then where's
You know.
where's the fat man at?
I'm going to need you to name him, first and last name, just so we're on the same page.
Ryan, the douchebag Middleton.
he regrettably could not make this podcast. He's selling a roof right now, I believe. So if
I
anybody needs a
don't want to
roof,
talk to his ass anyways.
247 Home Remodeling. You can catch Ryan, the douchebag Middleton. Ethan Goss's words, not mine. You can catch him doing that whole thing. So, needless to say, you and Ryan go back a ways, man. I'm going to jump right into a question. But what keeps you coming back to 247, Ethan? You've been here for what feels like 800 years. Why do you still fight for us, brother?
Yeah, Ryan and I go back to before 247. We go back to 2017. The birth of 247 started in 2019. But you know what, man? It's a great promotion. Regionally, there's nobody else doing it the way you guys do it. Other than your LFA, CFFC, stuff like that. And but regionally, you guys have been setting a bar each time we come out. And I see this on both sides, from the fighter side and the production side, because I obviously work the table for you guys when I'm not competing. But it's just the atmosphere it brings. It's opened up. I'm not technically a hometown guy, but it's opened up the doors, and I built a fan base in Pittsburgh and a name in Pittsburgh that like I said, Lucas Sievert likes to say he's Pittsburgh's favorite fighter. Well, I'm Pittsburgh's favorite outside fighter. So I'm their favorite adopted fighter. That's what I'm the adopted kid in Pittsburgh. But
there's definitely a case of, I know for sure it shows, even if people buy and don't necessarily pick your name, there are a ton of people that are there and excited to see you. I hear, just anecdotally talking to fans, they're always like, when's Ethan fighting again? Or, when's Ethan coming back? That kind of thing. So I would say during your layoff, you were the most asked about fighter that there's been in a long time.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that I've been able to build in Pittsburgh is, when I do fight, it's kind of like a bigger aura to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I got to the point where less is more. So I wasn't necessarily competing 3-4 times a year. I was competing twice a year, but for the last couple of years, in the times that I was on the card, though, that was the big cards. You know what I mean? We had a pretty big crowd, and I think the aura of me returning to fight just kind of leveled up some compared to where it was before. And 247 put a lot more eyes on me, and people started recognizing, because I've been hit up by, I just told you there wasn't that long ago, I just did an interview with a kid from Scotland that reached out to me. You know what I mean? But that's just the platform you guys are building and laying out for guys like myself and Chris and anybody else that's fighting on the 247 stage.
It's so cool, man. You mentioned the podcast from Scotland. How did he find you? Like, how did that come together anyway?
I think he was scanning Tapology. You know what I mean? Or he was on Tapology, or he seen something on Instagram or something like that, and then reached out and wanted to talk. And you know what I mean? I rarely ever will I turn down an interview. It's always great exposure. So we sat down and had a short conversation, and did a pretty nice little interview.
So cool, man. What was his knowledge of your game like? Did it seem like he did his research? Because obviously regional MMA in the United States, you look at Pennsylvania, Western PA, like you said, everybody kind of knows you here. But as you expand, the regional fighting is not necessarily something that everybody's tuned into, like the UFC, so to speak. So how much did he know about you in the scene?
He knew, like, as far as my career, you know what I mean, and how my careers went. He knew a good bit on, knew where I trained, knew what my record was, knew what my win streak was, knew that I held 2 titles. You know, knew who I beat, knew who I lost to.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, kid did his research for you know coming from halfway across the world.
Yeah. Shout out Tapology, making research come true. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. But yeah, man, you mentioned the win streak. Obviously, that's something we got to dig into because you went on this tear. You look like you were poised for kind of the next level, and then obviously got derailed by injury. So just taking all that into account, how has the momentum felt? Like, how have you been able to regain momentum through this fight camp and with this fight?
I mean, at first it was tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I went through it a little bit mentally. Like you see, like how Volk, he jumped on that fight with Islam, and how Poirier talked about it. Like, I felt what they felt, went through it a little bit. I was out, seeing all these people get big opportunities, and even people deserved them, but I've been seeing these opportunities like around my weight, and I was sitting on the sideline, not being considered. Wasn't even thinking about, you know, or they weren't even thinking about me. Like, wasn't in consideration for Contender Series this year and all that stuff. And, in my mind, I was going to breeze through it, return, be done, be ready, be back in a couple of months. And, it doesn't work that way, obviously. So I said, I think for me to perfectly quote it, it is, I didn't return when I wanted to, but I returned when I needed to. So once I got past that point where like we were on September, we were on October, we were on November, like, and it kept getting pushed back, pushed back. Now, like we got everything squared away. We're almost to the point where I honestly feel like better, significantly better than I did before I even got injured. It gave me the time away to focus on a couple things and, pick reset, mentally reset, focus on some things that I needed to work on, and even add to things that were already decent. When I was injured, like I said in Luke's podcast, I'm not just coming off the couch. Uh, I think I sparred the day before the surgery, had surgery on Friday, came out, called one of you guys to show on Saturday, took that week off, from the gym, and then was right back in. Uh, like Monday at work, I was laying pipe, one handed, and then right back into the gym the next week, and it's just been completely. And I worked everything I could on the good side, and sharpened up the good side. And then once I got out of the cast, then I refocused on catching the left side back or catching the other side back up, and you know what I mean. Here we are.
It's a crazy journey, man, and I'm sure that was frustrating being on the sidelines. I know we've texted privately and not gonna name names, but there are some people you see get UFC call ups on short notice, and it's like, man, that easily could have been Ethan. It's like literally guys that we've considered for fights for you in the past for
Yeah.
us. How do you maintain the focus and the drive of just maintaining that goal while you're seeing other people kind of pass you up?
It's just it's what you want, and it's one of them things. If you want it bad enough, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to do it, right? Like I talk about this a lot with uh, younger kids and younger talent and generation. Like, if you want to do this, you're going to do it. Do I recommend you doing it? Absolutely not, because it's horrible. It just eats you alive sometimes. But uh, you know, if you want it, you're going to figure out a way to do it. Um, I say about like sponsorship. I use sponsorships for an example. Um, you know, and there's nothing wrong with sponsorships. I am personally not one that goes out and chases people for money to be able to do this. This is my dream, my goal. I don't expect somebody to pay me their money out of their pocket to make it happen. So you see younger kids and stuff do a lot of like GoFundMe pages because they want to go out west and train or all this stuff. And where I'm more of a no, I'll just get up earlier and work longer days, and you know what I mean. still get my training in at night and work Saturdays and Sundays and whatever I got to do to be able to afford the way that I want to do it. And, that's just always kind of it's been instilled in me. It's been a childhood dream, um, right from the get go. And, once I started it and did the first one, it's just been, I went down the rabbit hole, and here I am at 32 years old, still just spiraling down the rabbit hole.
It never ends. It's a deep hole, Ethan Goss. But it's funny that you mentioned that because you are a guy who is part of that OG generation of Pittsburgh MMA and also still arguably at your peak. I think it's really safe to say actually that you're better than you've ever been right now, coming off 6 straight wins and everything you have going on. What's it been like seeing both waves happen and now being a part of this new generation that is definitely real? We feel it a lot at 247, this new group coming up, but you're still leading the pack and still a part of that, even though you've also been a part of that older generation as well. And you're still just
Yeah.
32.
Yeah. Guys, like myself, Justin, Patton, for a perfect example, we're kind of, I think Justin was, a year or two behind me getting started. But I think some people use the term tweeners, like we're in betweeners.
Yeah.
I did come in guys like Kama and Cherico and Garbrandt, those guys were the pros on the scene, when I was coming up as an amateur. And, we still got Kama in the picture. And, myself, and I was kind of a late bloomer, where, I was tough early in my career, but just took some tough losses and stuff like that, but just stayed the course. And, when you do your push-ups and you stay the course, you get to where you want to go eventually. Guys like I said, like myself and Justin, we learned the hard way. Like we got beat up, you know what I mean? Got beat on, got pushed, got ran through the ringer, and it didn't kill us, and it turned us, running with the wolves turned us into the wolves. So, that's what we are now. Now it's our time. We're the big dogs.
Yeah.
We're the main name on the card. We're the headlines on the show. So
it's a great way to put it, man. And I think it's kind of interesting if you look at your career, you look at Justin's career, you can even look at Kama's career for a similar look. None of you guys were that 8-0 super prospect that everybody was talking about. You all took a lot of losses early. Like your AMI career, if I remember off the top of my head, was almost 500, right? You were like 5
I
and
was
4, 6 and
6
4.
and 5,
Yeah.
and that's the old school mentality to where we didn't take, in today's world, kids pad the records and you see it like crazy. Kids that are 7-0, 6-1, 8-0, whatever. They pad their records hardcore. And I don't even know how you could get fights like that sanctioned sometimes, because you'll see a 11-1 guy fight a 1-13, and it's like, how's that even like possible? But guys like us three that you just mentioned, we didn't do that. We fought whoever they put in front of us, and like my whole amateur career was, I literally gone down the best of the best. That was only once I got in and got my feet wet, I only wanted to fight the best of the best, and that was what we did. And then as I went into pro, I should have tuned it back a little bit, maybe not took as many as super tough fights as I did, but it's just a matter of timing. And it took a couple before I was ready. Took a couple hard losses. Had a lot of close fights, split decisions, and stuff like that didn't go my way. And then, eventually just started putting it all together.
The crazy part, I think, of your pro career when you look at it is not only like the 0-2 start, but also you had a Bellator opportunity pretty early on that a lot of people feel like you won that fight, honestly. What was that moment like for you and that opportunity? I know it wasn't necessarily like you weren't necessarily a featured bout on the card or anything, but still Bellator was hot at that time. That was a big deal, man. What was that fight like for you?
Dude, it was, mind blowing. One of my ultimate goals was to fight in the Bryce Jordan Center when I started this, because at the time, and Bellator is still the only promotion that's ever came to the Bryce Jordan Center. There's never been a fight there. So one of my ultimate goals was to do that. And they weren't actually. I don't think they were like really interested in putting me on the card. I mean, they didn't seem like they were hardcore interested. And I mean, I reached out to everybody I could, and I think I talked to Isaac. You know, like, hey, like help me out here. And I think Isaac might have pitched something for me too. And you know, eventually we got picked and got signed and fought one of Dante Riviera's guys, and you know, ended up losing a split decision that night that I felt was my fight, and pretty much the whole arena erupted in boos and felt that it was my fight, but that's the way it goes sometimes. You know, it was awesome to be in front of, you know, 10,000 plus people in that arena, you know, being in the back, Robbie Lawler in your corner, like, you know what I mean? And the same, everybody's in the same locker room as you, like those guys. And, you know, Rich Chow was a matchmaker then. And then fast forward to now, it's like, this is how it comes full circle. Like Rich is now my agent through the mag agency and the you know, the management team that I'm signed under. And you know, guys like Robbie is signed to the same one as Robbie Lawler and Logan Storley and Ryan Bader, and these were all guys that I shared the locker room with that night. So I mean, it's kind of crazy how it all comes full circle.
So cool, man. That mag agency, legendary for sure, led by David Martin. He's one of the great behind the scenes characters in MMA. I would say you don't hear or see much of him, but that dude has his fingers in everything. He has a ton of power and influence in the scene. He's the man, and one of the nicest people that I've personally ever met. So when you said you signed with them, I was really stoked, man. That's a great agency. What have they kind of done for you? What does it change for you moving forward, working with a crew like that?
We had a couple close opportunities, like not this past year, the year before. I was up for, you know, contender series. We didn't end up getting selected there, but you know, they did have a fight for me. They offered one for me. They had an opponent. I liked it. And then they were going to get back to me on a date, and the date fell on my brother's wedding, so I
Oh,
wasn't able to do that. And
he would
then
have understood.
and then they hit me up with two pretty decent sized opportunities. One was the $100,000 Grand Prix tournament for Global Combat, but it was on a week's notice, and I was interested, but my coaches pulled the reins back on that. And you know, even looking back at that tournament, I felt like I could have, you know, won that or been in the finals of that tournament. And then we had a close opportunity with Bellator in Ireland. I think we were just going to go up a weight class in 2 weeks' notice. And the only downfall to that was Bellator only was offering a one fight deal. And it was like at the time, you know, I was 5, 6 wins in a row. And I just, my only request was make it a 2 fight deal and you got it. You know what I mean? That way, if something, you know, I'm going up a weight class and I'm going over there against a guy that's had 9 fights in Bellator, like you make it a 2 fight deal. That way, if something goes south, I get another shot to redeem myself. You know, we were in, but they ended up picking somebody from that side of the pond, which I don't blame them. And
Makes sense.
I think this Cody Law told me at the Match Factory, like, you don't want to go overseas to fight anyways, dude. He was like, you'll get taxed over there, and then you get taxed again when you come back here. So it's like, oh well, that would have sucked.
Yeah, man. Have you seen any of the stubs from people who fight in Australia, like UFC fighters that fight in Australia?
No, not. I mean, I've heard about it, but I haven't seen any of the actual. Yeah, now you said it, I think John McDessie did had post one.
It's freaking crazy, man. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was McDessie that I
yeah,
saw as well, where he was just like straight up about. He ended up bringing home like 25 or 30% of what it felt like he should have. It's just a
yeah.
ridiculous cut. Jared, we got Jared Billy in the chat saying what's up. He wants to know who the Bellator fighter was that you were offered, if you can say.
Oh man, I'd have to remember his name. He
I
was
knew that was going to be the issue.
some kid from England. I can't remember what his name was now, to be honest with you. I'd have to look back through my messages with
It's
Rich.
it's all good. I
And
didn't think you would remember. It's funny. It's
I
like
remember the one I fought. That was Andrew Salas.
for sure.
When I fought for Bellator, but
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, man, because obviously the landscape has changed a lot since even just with Bellator in general. Like we said, when they were in state college, they were they were the shit, man. Like, they were
Yeah.
right under the UFC. They were hot, and now they've merged with PFL, and it's this weird distinction of nobody really
I
understands even what it is right now. So the landscape right now, I would say, is very different. But for you moving forward, is like PFL an appealing option for you? Is it kind of like UFC or bust?
yeah. I mean, I was pretty hardcore UFC or bust, up before the injury. And the UFC is still number one for me,
Yeah.
obviously. But I'm not rolling out a PFL opportunity. Bellator doesn't really seem to be doing anything in the States anymore. It's over in
Right.
Europe.
Right.
I'm not rolling out either of them though. Whoever comes with the first offer and it makes sense, we'll do it. Uh, they, you know, while I was out with injury, I'm just kind of like, I can't really afford the time to sit and wait, sit and wait, sit and wait. Um, you know, I go ahead and perform great on Saturday night and notch another win. That's 7 wins in a row. I'm I'm right there. Real close. The bad part was like the goalpost kept seeming to move. Like I was told,
Mhm.
what to do by my management team, and I did it. And then I continued to do it, and I went beyond, what I was asked to do. And the goalpost just kind of keeps seeing to be pushed back, and it gets a little discouraging sometimes. But it's just, it's the luck of the draw in this game. You just right time, right place.
Yeah.
I threw my name in the hat for a bunch of short notice stuff. Anytime I might see somebody fall out of a fight, like I follow that MMA Orbit on Instagram,
Yeah.
and they're always like one of the first ones to
Yeah.
drop if somebody's pulled out of a fight, and so I'll jump on it right away. But if they got any kind of time whatsoever, they find somebody in house. So you got to like catch it when it's like a week out. And I opted to come in at 55 or 45. Um, 55 would be easier to make in a week's time frame, but even if it was 45, I'd probably tell them yes, even if I came in a little heavy because I would just do my best to make it. But you know, you don't you don't get a lot of opportunities, you know, with the UFC or somebody like that. So you gotta jump on it when it's there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the perfect like representation of your entire career. We talked about your amateur career being roughly 500, started pro 0 and 2. It's just not allowed to be easy for you. Doesn't it just feel right that it's difficult for you to get there now? Like that's how it needs to be.
It's everything I do in life. You know what I mean? I try to fix one thing. I got to fix three other things to be able to fix the one thing that I want to fix. Um, fighting's the same way. It was just started out rocky. You know what I mean? And had to battle to come back and battle to come back, and then finally, after the last two losses that I had, which has now been 4 years ago, um, over 4 years ago.
Crazy.
Uh, I just started finally figuring it out and stringing it and putting it all together.
Yeah. And you've won the 247 featherweight title, defended that one, won the lightweight title, and now you're looking to defend that one this Saturday against Chris Rollins. What about this matchup is appealing? Kind of a two-part question. What about the matchup is appealing? And secondly, why defending the 155 title instead of the 45? What made you want to come back at 55 after the layoff?
Well, that one, I put on a little bit of weight, you know, while I was out, even though I'm still training. I got up to like 182 pounds. I think I was up in the 180s somewhere. And, I wanted to come back, and coming back at 155 was going to be a lot easier to make 55, plus with the holidays and stuff like that. But what good's a champion that doesn't defend his belt, right? I mean, it was on a whim that we even challenged for the 155-pound title.
Yeah.
You obviously know what happened there, and we did it and won it, and so I might as well at least defend it at least once. 145 is where I like to be. 145 is where I want to go next after this fight. But you know, Chris is kind of like myself. He's very, very tough, durable guy. he's had a lot of fights. I think he's 19 pro fights, not counting his boxing fights and whatever, maybe kickboxing and stuff that he has. Started out rough, like I did. And, in his last 5 was able to battle it back and turn it around. And, he got himself on the winning side on the plus 500 side on his record. And, I've known of Chris for years. Always kind of thought maybe one day we'd cross paths, but, he fought at 45 a lot too, just like I did. We just never ended up meeting. But, now the stars aligned and here we are. And, the matchup I like. I think he's known for being more of a striker. He's got a boxing background. He's got some like 10 or 11 pro boxing fights, and even in that, he's went the distance with like Evan Holyfield. Evander Holyfield's boy. Like, so I mean, he's got credibility and he's tough. He's solid. I know it's not no easy fight in front of me, but they never are, especially at this level, like that I'm competing in and that he's competing in. We're all studs,
Yeah.
We're all tough guys. So that's, nothing new, no surprise there.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you win 6 straight and hold 2 belts. The easy fights are over. There's no more easy option. So one thing I love about the Rollins matchup specifically is something that you kind of hinted at, and that's how similar you guys are. The career arc, the trajectory, the fact that you fluctuate between 45, 55 a little bit. You both hold 2 titles right now, which I think is super interesting as well. It's kind of like the most golden regional matchup of all time. There's like so many titles on the line, it feels like.
Yeah.
How much does that element mean to you? Like, what does the belt actually mean to you?
It meant more than most people could imagine. It seemed like the thing that eluded me in my whole pro career. And then finally, when I pulled it off, I failed 2 or 3 times, earlier in my career challenging for titles. And then, I failed the first time I challenged for you guys' belt. And then, when I pulled it off, it was like, all right, great. And then I defended it and defended it again. It just kept getting, better and better. And then the whole 155-pound title thing, like, it was never in my mind going up and challenging for a 155-pound belt. But it just ended up being like when that opportunity arose, it was the same time when Volk stepped up to fight Islam on short notice. And it was like when that opportunity arose, then it was like, wow, I have a shot of like etching my name in the history books here. Like, I have a shot of literally etching my name into the 247 banner, like in Pittsburgh sports MMA and in general, because nobody's done this yet. And I managed to do it and pull it off. And guys like Ryan Kavanaugh, shout out to Kavanaugh. His favorite thing to call me is the most decorated man inside the 247 cage, which, I mean, if you look at the accolades, I guess I am.
It's accurate. It's super accurate.
I hold majority of the records in the 2 titles, 2 belts, 2 title defenses. And it's just kind of the way it played out, and it's an awesome thing.
We have the only more decorated person waiting in the waiting room right now, and that is Mr. Ryan Middleton. You asked for him earlier, and he's frozen. He just comes in frozen.
What is this trash I'm hearing?
Dude.
My ears started bleeding. I heard you say, "Oh, I'm a tough guy." Like, bro, no.
You are so ugly. Like, you are the ugly. Look how ugly you are.
I was watching our viewership, and Hunter was on. The moment you came on the screen, like everyone, I don't care. Like, I thought I'd care about this, but then I saw Ethan Goss was here. Dude,
does your fat ass literally got a box of Cheez-Its in the background?
They're generic Cheez-Its. They're Aldi Cheez-Its.
Yeah, well, God knows that you're a cheap ass, so I'm sure they are generic.
Hey.
This is beautiful. That worked out way better than I could have hoped. Well done.
I told you I had to jump in, bro. Like
You
I
ruined
couldn't
my
sit
day, Hunter. This was going so well.
and
Couldn't let
here
this one
you're
go.
just, oh, I'm really tough. I'm such a tough guy. Shut, bro. Right there, bro.
Yeah, right there.
Nice. Well, that worked out perfectly. I'm going to kick out Ryan now so he can get back to work. Go sell a roof, bro.
Bye, Ryan.
Peace.
Love you
Peace.
guys.
Love you. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, dude, we do have. I can actually kick Ryan out. That's awesome. I'm going to do that. That felt good. We do have Rollins in queue, so I'm going to get him in here next. But for people who don't know what an Ethan Goss fight is all about, this is what I want to end with. People have never seen you fight before. What would you tell them about your style, and why do they need to show up Saturday to watch you defend the belt?
Very, very well rounded. You see you see the fight going, I mean, anywhere in a case where, I'm not going to classify myself as one thing or another, striker, wrestler, grappler. You know, I'm speaking facts when I say I've beaten grapplers on the mat, and Harbaugh is the perfect example of that. And I've beaten strikers on the feet, and Solo and Tobias are a perfect example of that. So I can win this fight anywhere. Whether it's on the feet or whether it's on the mat, whether it's against the cage, I can win this fight everywhere, and I bring an element of excitement with it. Usually end up always landing something that makes people gasp for air, or get excited about. But that's pretty much what you get when I fight, and you see probably one of the most completed fighters, in the nation. When I compete, as a fact of where I can fight anywhere.
Yeah, it's so true, man. And we're so privileged to have had so many of your fights. And we have the library on 247 Live, stream 247live.com. What would be like your favorite one? If you were telling somebody who never saw you fight to go watch one of your fights, which one would you recommend?
My fight with Barbarina was probably my utmost dominance, just absolutely, wilted somebody to where they had no chance of winning anywhere. That was probably my most dominant performance, and then the fight against Skylar Sue, though, was probably one of the most exciting ones. That was back and forth, where you get to see that, I got a dog in me. And then the fight with Solo was where you get to, if you want to see my fight IQ and how smart of a fighter I am, watch the fight with Solo. Because if you know fighting and you understand fighting, you'll see exactly what I did in that fight to be able to make that win happen. Because I had to make a shift in the middle of the fight, to while I was laying on my back holding my balls and getting a nut shot. I thought about what I needed to do and then put it together after that.
It's insane, dude. I remember that picture. It actually cracked your cup, and it's the perfect finish of this. You have a baby on the way, so they were fine. That's great. They still work. That's awesome.
Yeah, they still work. Thank God. My wife and I are expecting in May. So we got a little baby coming.
Do you have dad strength now, or does that only happen once the baby's born? How's that work?
I'm not sure. Hopefully I have it now. Hopefully it's there now. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, man.
So
that's hilarious. Well, super congrats to you both. Obviously, she's a vital part of your camp and your team, man. How does she stay sane through the life of a professional fighter that also works a full-time job like you? Like you said, you're constantly training, you're constantly on the move, constantly working. How does she put up with you?
Oh man, very, very miserably. No, she's a blessing in my life. She knows what it takes for me to dedicate to this, and she knows what it takes for me to dedicate to running my own business and making a living at my own business. And she doesn't. She wants her date nights here and there and stuff like that, which as she deserves. But we pretty much go all day with seeing each other for an hour a day, and she knows what I got to do, and she is so freaking superstitious. I mean, doesn't want to change. Like if something works, she doesn't want to change it. Make sure that it's this. Doesn't she? The spot she does not want let me talk to her about the fights or matchups. Like she doesn't want to hear it. She won't. She'll hold her ears. Like she doesn't. But always make sure that I'm eating right. Always make sure that she's on my ass if I'm trying to sneak in the candy drawer or something like that. Um, Yelling at me if I'm eating bad food or something like that. She's the backbone that I could have never asked her to be any better for. So
It's awesome, man. She keeps you off the Middlesworth. That's a tough
yeah,
task.
I haven't had Middlesworth in like 2 months, man. That's screwed up.
Is that the post weigh-in meal? What do you go for after weigh-ins? I'm sure you hydrate with like specific
Yeah,
stuff,
I
but like,
usually go like to get a nice steak and a baked potato. I'll eat the baked potato first for the carbs and stuff like that. Baked potato and steak and some vegetables. I like to eat a little bit of what I eat, during diets,
mhm.
which is a lot of vegetables and lean protein. But load that baked potato up and make sure that baby's nice and good, and you get a lot of carbs on that sucker. But
That's
yeah,
we summoned the OG crew. We just had Adam Milstead join the podcast, so that's awesome. What's up, dude? Adam's in here.
yeah. What's up,
You had
Adam? Adam and I go back a long ways too. We've been on the same fight card, uh, many times.
yeah. I can only imagine. You guys seem like you would be best friends. Like you're very similar people, I feel like.
Oh
You
yeah,
guys get along
we're
super
both
well.
like outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
We're both into a lot of stuff. I think if we lived closer, we would probably be. I've had a couple drinking nights after the fights, post fights with Adam. We got pretty wild at like King of the Cage after parties and stuff like that. But yeah, Adam and I we're very similar in a lot of ways.
It makes sense, man. And he's super musical too. I know your walkout music's important to you. What's it gonna feel like when that music hits Saturday night?
What's it gonna feel like for you when it hits? Because it's been a while since you heard it.
Oh, it has been a while, man. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
that's it. I think like I got it tuned in check to where it's like every time I fight, everybody knows, the bagpipes are gonna drop, and then you're gonna hear Fat Bottom Girls. And it just became like a signature thing for me. And when that music hits, the place seems to erupt, and
Yeah.
they know what's coming. People that have been there and seen it before know what's coming after. So it just, I don't know, man. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Gets you in the mood, gets you in the game, gets you in the feels where you're ready to go.
That's freaking awesome, man. How do you manage the excitement of that though? Because one of the worst things in a fight, obviously, is to get that early adrenaline dump and being coming off a layoff, a lot on the line. How do you avoid that?
I've been doing this long enough to just absolutely remain calm. In the back, I learned to be myself. I learned to, not, don't be that guy that's just nervous or give off any nervous energy or anything like that. We laugh, we joke. You know how my team is. Darren and us are like we literally rip on each other and pick on each other and stuff like that. And I just what I'm doing Saturday night's the same thing I do every day of the week. There's just
Yeah.
more people watching. There's nothing to it, and I found a level of confidence in there. And like I think it was the hardball fight where I really felt that, and was like the best way for me to explain it was like it felt like I was hovering over top the cage watching the whole thing play out. I found a level of confidence in there where I just have calmness, and I have what I call controlled aggression. Know when to pull the trigger and know when not to pull the trigger. And getting amped up like that stuff, like I feel it. Trust me, I feel it clear down to my core, in my heart, in my chest. And you always got a little bit of nervous butterflies, but it's a fight. Anything can happen. And that's the thrill of it, though. That's the part that makes it so awesome for you when you step in there.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad that you mentioned Darren and Ray because I wanted to shout them out, the work they do at Gorilla House. You have a teammate on the card as well, Tyler Dybert, fighting Saturday night as well. But I feel like Gorilla House is a team, probably because they're not in the greater Pittsburgh area. They're out in Altoona. still close, but a little ways away, that they just don't get the recognition and the love that some more local gyms get. So what has it been like for you to stay with them, throughout your career? You know, you could train in Pittsburgh, but obviously that's closer to home and important to you. But what is it about that team that works so well for you, and what do they bring to the table?
Just the connection, man. I mean, Ray's all in. He has everything we need when we go to the fights. You guys know, you guys all come back and get a beer out of the cooler afterwards.
Mhm.
He has everything we need, takes care of us, gets us our gear, gets us tape, whatever we might need. And, you know, just the level of connection that I get with him and Darren. Darren and I are very similar style fighters. And Darren was a bad man, in his day of fighting, being internationally ranked, in kickboxing in the top like 12 or something. And, his style of fighting is very basic. He teaches very basic things, and we focus on a lot of things that people don't focus on anymore. And, you see that work. And like I've said it time and time again, the closest coaching that you could get to Darren Cassidy is Chris Williams. Chris coaches very similar, and Chris and I have had this conversation and, talked about drills and stuff like that before. So, shout out to him, because, obviously the way these two guys coach works. Look at Carly Joe, look at Justin Patton, look at myself, look at Tyler Diver, Cam Allgaier. Like, we're all guys that have been absolutely monsters, and it's comes from that same style of coaching. I could make a switch and go over to American Top Team, but I think overall my record under the Gorilla House banner is 9-2. So if I would have started my career in 2017, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would probably be, not going to really in the UFC by now, because I'd have a 9-2 record. We dissected some things that needed dissected and fixed things that needed fixed, and now here we are.
A famously hardworking gym too, I would say. It's not a place for the faint of heart. If you're really going after it, that's kind of the place to be. What do you see in terms of Gorilla House kind of weeding out people who are serious about it and kind of not serious about it?
Very quickly. It happens very quickly. Like, people that want to fight, you know what I mean? They come in, and we've had people come in, outside fighters that come in to train with us, and they die in the warm-ups. And they are struggling after we're 15 minutes in, because they're not used to the pace. We drill how we fight. Everything is intense. Like, if you watch Darren and I do drills, like whether we're doing dead time drills or exchange drills or anything like that, like, it looks like Darren and I are trying to kill each other. But we've mastered a way of, like, picking off shots, throwing with energy, throwing, you know what I mean, popping, everything's aggressive, like we're popping. And you drill the way that you fight, or you fight the way that you drill, in that sense. And in a fight, you got to know when to step on the gas and know when to let off of a little bit. And that style, a lot of guys aren't like that style. A lot of guys like to just hit pads. A lot of guys like to just slowly drill, whatever works for you. But that's what works for us. And I think the proof's in the pudding with some of the fighters that we've produced, at Gorilla House.
Well, it's crazy when you think about it. As small of a team as it is, you guys have gold all over the place. Not just you, but obviously also Cam. I know Sid's fought for the title a few times. Has Albright won a belt yet? I feel like
Dan held the Bizarro heavyweight title.
There we go.
Between the two of us, between all of us, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 championships. In the 5, group of 5, 6 people that we've had. It's just, like I said, we put it all together. We don't just, it's not like you just do striking, we don't do straight Muay Thai one day and then straight jiu-jitsu the other day, and that's it. It's like, no, we do our striking and we find ways to get in on takedowns and shots, and then it's clinch work from there, and then it's, the grappling work, but you're not grappling just to grapple. You're getting punched in the face when you're grappling. And, I'm excited for guys like Dibert, who's, becoming a hammer, just coming up through the ranks, and he's, training with me every day. And, he's at the point where he pushes me to my limits. And so it's just great to watch a guy like him build.
That's cool to hear. He's been practically flawless through his first 2 fights with us, and now obviously has a third coming up against Brent Mack. It's a really interesting matchup, I think, dude. Brent's super good grappler. We've seen him at Sprawl in the Burgh and know what
Yeah.
that Flood City Jiu-Jitsu brings. And it's actually close geographically to Altoona as well. Their gym is there like
I know the guys well.
Yeah.
Their head coach, Johnny Miller, Johnny and I know each other very well, and we get along great. Like we were at a bachelor party and stuff together a couple years ago, and we're in a wedding together. You know what I mean? It was a couple years ago, and Johnny's a good time, man. I love Johnny. We've always got along. There's no animosity, obviously, between us. It's just business. The guys fighting. But yeah, Dibert he's a hammer, man. He's just becoming a problem. And he has the greatest mindset. He's and I call him Fat Cam, because he comes in, he doesn't complain, he doesn't bitch about nothing, he works his ass off, he takes his licks. If he does something wrong, he asks you how to do something, you show him, he works it, he gets better at it. Like I've shown him, striking combinations and drills and stuff like that he's mastered and then landed on me. And I'm like, man, screw you. I wish I would have never showed you that. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of glad you did.
Fat Cam's one of the best nicknames ever, but something tells me we're not going to catch Dibert doing engineering homework backstage. Am I correct?
No, Diver's a very intelligent guy. I think he was a finance major and stuff. He's very intelligent, but yeah, he's not going to be back here with his calculator doing calculus homework and stuff, waiting in the corner till he's got to warm up.
One of the funniest things of all time with Cam, just going back, and he's quite literally, like you said, doing calculus and stuff before the fight. I'm like,
I think Cam's biggest thing was he looked like such a little bookworm, big, real thick glasses, little squinty eyes. That's how he got the mole rat name, because he walked around like a naked mole rat, squinting like this, looking everywhere.
Oh, it's so good, man. One of the best nicknames in regional MMA of all time. So that's great. But dude, one last question. I thought Rollins, I don't know if something happened, if he couldn't log in, but he hasn't showed up yet. So it's looking like we're going to have to just punt his podcast, maybe snag it tomorrow instead. But one more for you, because somebody asked me and I didn't know the answer, and I had a feeling, but I'm not sure. They wanted to know if the Wolverine nickname was for the action hero or for the actual animal.
Yeah, it kind of came from the movies, because I shaved chops and back when I had a full head of hair and stuff. I looked like Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
That's what
I told him, yeah.
As he portrayed in the Wolverine movie. So that was where the nickname came from. Like people started saying, I remember I was out in Las Vegas I was there the night Robbie Lawler beat Johnny Hendricks for the belt. And I was walking down the street and some random dude running by called me Logan. And then stopped and shook my hand. Was like, "You're gonna be a superstar, man." And then took back off. And I was like, so it was. I guess I just kind of had the look. And
that's so funny.
That's what a lot of people call me, the Wolverine. It's actually just Wolverine.
Just Wolverine.
Wolverine, Goss.
We'll get Drew Shannon on that. I'm sure he's got it under control, under wraps. You can always trust him. But yeah, I knew you had the sideburns and the look, but then I was like, he kind of is like a Wolverine too, like the animal. I could see it being like a dual meaning. I wasn't sure which one it is. So
yeah, no, I have that aggressiveness to me to where I'm one of them. Like you say, I think Marshawn Lynch said it best. I know I'm gonna get got, but I'm gonna get mine before I get got. Well, if I take one, you can ask Divert or anybody. If anybody lands one, they better get ready, because they know for a fact that Divert's hit me to the point where he caught me with something and he backs up and he just goes, "Oh shit," because he knows what's coming. I'm competitive. I'm wired that way, man.
Love it.
I'm just freaking competitive, and that's why I love coming out to Pittsburgh. And I was out there the other weekend sparring with Kama and Justin and those guys and Lucas, and I think the first round I did with Kama, it was 0.3 seconds in, and Kama cracked me with a jab right in the eye, and I'm like, "You mother effer, you!" All right, let's go. It's on.
Here we go. Here we go. It's showtime, and it is showtime for you, man. Saturday, Rollins did just show up backstage, so I'm going to tag him in. But I appreciate jumping on, dude. And honestly, I know everybody's just excited to have you back, have you healthy, and everybody's looking forward to this fight. So thanks for being a part of it, man. Probably
100%, man. I'm excited,
yeah.
beyond excited to be back. Been a long time coming. Can't wait for it. Ready to go.
Love it, man. Well, get your tickets Saturday if you want to support Ethan Wolverine Goss, not the Wolverine, just Wolverine Goss. 247fighting.com. He fights Chris Rollins in the main event for the pro lightweight title. And we have Chris backstage now, so I'm going to kick Ethan out and tag Chris in. But thanks for joining us again, man. Enjoy your night.
Yeah,
We'll see
thanks
you
for having me on, brother. We'll see you.
Yeah, dude. See you Friday. Later, brother. All right. We got Ethan kicked out and this guy tagged in. What's up, brother? How are you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, my man? How are you?
Good, man. How's everything feeling? Obviously, a fight a couple days away. That's a big deal. How's that feel for you?
Just super busy as normal. Gotta when we go out of town, I gotta make sure everything's good with my gym and everything like that. Just knocking all that stuff out last minute before I head up out of here. With Thursday, I'm gonna leave.
Perfect, man. I don't know if you got to watch Ethan at all, but he kind of noted that you were a guy that he's known about for a long time. You know, regionally, you've made a great name for yourself. Kind of everybody in this East Coast pro 145, 155 rank knows who you are and what you're about, and it is a testament to not only your fighting skills, but something that you just alluded to. You got the gym, you've got the promotion. I mean, you're as deep into combat sports regionally as anybody can get. So I guess my question is, what's wrong with you, dude? Why?
I spoke with you the other day for a few minutes. I was like, man, the stuff that we deal with behind the scenes as putting on these shows and stuff, Instagram and Facebook looks good, but the work that goes in behind that is, I don't even know. I'm like, man, I'm not doing this shit no more. And then next thing you know, I'm like, fuck it, let's do another one. I don't know. I guess it's addiction, I guess you want to say. But
yeah.
Once it all comes together, it's a good fix. And then when things fight week, as you already know, things falling off when you're on the promoting side. And it's just, I don't know. You got to be – we're a wild group of people that want to keep on doing this for sure.
Yeah, man, there's a certain level of punishment that you got to put up with. And then for you specifically, you add in the fight career, which obviously your MMA record is one thing and very impressive in its own right, but all the pro boxing as well. I mean, how many pro fights have you had overall?
I think like 31, 32. And then like all my amateur fights are not on Tapology. I think I'm near 50 total between the both pro and amateur. But yeah, I think touching back on like the promoting side, I'm like, when I got into it, I thought everybody was like me and just how they'll make weight, do their medicals, do their shit, promote the fight, come in shape. And then I'm like, man, this is a whole lot harder than what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Behind the scenes, man, it's opened my eyes a lot over, working with 247 for the past 3.5 years, just seeing everything behind the scenes. It truly is eye-opening for the fans that just you go out and you watch a show and you feel like you look around and you're like, oh, it's nice and it's impressive, but I could do this. I could organize this. Not so much, man. It's a very unique skill for sure.
And the last thing we'll talk about that too is like everybody there, they're getting paid. There ain't nobody hanging out for free. You got EMS, you got security, you got the sanction, you got this, you got a bond, you got the insurance. It's like, hey, they ain't hanging out. Everybody's getting paid. So they all looking at you like you're making all the money. But really, it's like, hey, everybody's got their hand out along the way. So I was like, it's all good, though. But that experience between that, like you said, my fighting, running my gym, I feel like I got a lot of experience in all levels of the combat sports. And that'll come to fruition on Saturday night.
Yeah, you do, man. And I think you and Ethan are super interesting right now. I love this matchup at this time for so many reasons, but it's kind of crazy when you look at each other's career arcs. You guys are on a super similar path, a little kind of 500-ish start to your pro career and now just stringing together wins left and right. So for you at 35 years old, man, what's really clicking for you?
To be honest, I just think everything, I just got good. I mean, I don't know. I've always been known as being, tough or whatever people want to say about me. I don't like to talk about myself, but it's like I was always durable, tough, whatever you want to say. But now I don't know, the hard work and all that stuff has always been there. But I think now it's just the skill levels have met up with everything else, and the fight IQ is there. So I just think I'm late to the party, but hey, better late than never. 35, I'm ready to rock.
Love it, man. Well, like I said, we're honored to have you. And I think the next super interesting element in this is your last fight. You go into Ethan Hayes' territory. You know, Ethan Hayes is like the king of Morgantown, and you go into Morgantown and beat him there. Now you're coming to Pittsburgh to try to take Ethan Goss's belt in kind of his adopted hometown now of Pittsburgh. So, what is that on the road underdog mentality like for you? How do you embrace that?
Nah, to be honest, I kind of think it's less pressure. Fought in my hometown, where I promote here and where I went to high school and everything. Like the pressure, I was like, I fought on TV and stuff. I was like, man, fighting at home was like, man, this was had everybody hit me up, and it's the same old story you hear from all the fighters. But it's a different kind of pressure. But when you walk out there and you don't have all your fans there too on the road, it's a little different. But I walk in the cage every time, and I'm here. So the cage is my house, wherever it is what I feel, and I'll do what I got to do to get my hand raised.
What do you know about Ethan specifically? 'Cause like I said, he was well aware of you, your fighting style, kind of everything. I guess you'd been on his radar for a little bit. What do you know about Ethan, and how much do you kind of study his game leading up?
I really haven't watched no tape on him because I always get in my head about guys. Like I said earlier on other interviews, they either make guys better than they are or worse. Over the years, I feel like guys, when they come to fight me, I've watched tape on them, and I'm like, fuck, man, they come better when they fight me. I don't know. I think I'm a big fight for guys. They can downplay me all they want, but people know who I am. They know I push the pace, so it seems to me they train harder and come harder. So when I watch the tape, I'm like, these motherfuckers didn't look like that when they were fighting somebody else. They coming for me to try to kill me. I don't watch a lot of tape. Honestly, I quit watching. I just focus on what I'm doing, let my guys check them out. And, we get a game plan. But like I said, I don't know, 40-some fights in now. No fights ever went like I thought it was going to go. So, I mean, having a game plan is all cool, but Mike Tyson said it best. It all goes out the window when you get punched in the mouth. So,
Yep.
Everybody's, you have holes or whatever. People think they can, think they can do this and do that. And, we have game plans, but I'll just listen to my corner, make a proper adjustments as the fight goes. I got Rob McCraw in my corner. We've been working together this year on this little run. We don't train like on a daily basis with each other, but I'll go cross train. But we've worked with each other for over like 10 years now. He's been working my corner, so pretty much whatever he calls, I'm gonna do it. And I got a pile of young, hungry fighters at my gym this year, and probably about the last year or two, they're all like from 19 to like 23. And I'm like, here I am, the old guy, and they push me every day. So I'm like, hey, they're trying to take me down. They're trying to do this or do that. I'm like, you motherfuckers ain't taking me down. Like, all right, you ain't get the best of me on the exchange. Because like that's really honestly, that's been a huge why I'm still going. Honestly, it's because of them. They push me every day.
Makes perfect sense. You got to surround yourselves with the right kind of guys to push you day in and day out. And it's cool to hear that you're working with Rob a lot as well. He's a multi-time 247 vet in the corner. We know Rob very well and love what he brings to the table. What is it specifically about him and his style that kind of clicks with you? Because like you said, you've been in the game a long time, had a ton of fights. It can be hard to switch up coaching or add somebody new, but what clicked with you guys?
Yeah, like I said, Rob gave me my first 2 pro fights, I think. I know it's definitely my pro debut, and then one on early after that strike off. So I've known him since like 2014, and we used to do a lot of cross training in the Kaizen on Sundays. A bunch of guys spar, and we just always, just stayed pretty close together. And he said, "You be in the UFC, you're hard headed if you fucking would listen and stop taking these fights out of state." That when and I was just hard headed and took fights and said, "Fuck it," but now that I got a little smarter, we started working together. And he said, now, he said, if you'd listened to me a long time ago, look where we'd be. So we just always talk shit and mess with each other. But, yeah, we just got a good relationship, and I trust him. Whatever he says, I'm going to do it. He knows. He's like, whatever he calls, he's like, I just always tell him, I was like, Imagine if I could train with you every day of the week. Like whatever he says during the fights, like boom, I'm doing it right away. I'll make the proper adjustments and do it, and I can hear him. And that's a big
Yeah.
part of it. Like you can have guys, all my shows, I'll sit there and watch coaches yell things, and these guys the crowd takes over. They don't hear, and they just black out. You got to be able to hear your corners and hear what you got to do.
That's huge, man. And not only winning, but winning like you kind of alluded to, Rob giving you kind of jabbing you for it, but winning very important fights now, Shogun Fights title, Cagezilla title, really big promotions in that region. What do these title fights mean to you? Obviously coming now to Pittsburgh for the 247 title against Ethan. What does winning the title mean to you?
It's just the next step on the way up. People always looking past things. Earlier in my career, I would always if I win, I'm like, all right, what's next? I got to get here. I want to make it to the big show. If I would lose, I'd be like, I got to get a fight right away. Now I just take it one fight at a time and enjoy the moment. I've seen y'all's belt. I think it looks badass, and y'all put on a great show, crowd, good matchups, and I got a lot of respect for that because that's what I do too, and it ain't easy. And I appreciate what y'all do for me and other fighters. So winning y'all's belt on Saturday will be huge. My son's birthday is tomorrow. He'll be turning 7, so he already said, Dad, I want that belt for my birthday. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna deliver it for you.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, happy birthday to little man. That's super cool. I'm glad you guys get to celebrate it with us a little bit. I'm sure after the fight, you guys will have a proper celebration, and Christmas.
Yeah, we've had my birthday was like a week ago. My girlfriend's and his is tomorrow. So I've been watching all this birthday cake and stuff, and I'm like, damn. I said the belt will be my birthday present.
There you go. You have fought at 45 before as well, like Ethan. Is 55 a tough cut for you, or is it pretty just standard for you at this point?
I think since I came back from boxing, I'm 5-0 at 55. So I'm just going to keep on rolling there. I like it. I can always make 145, but I feel like when I do that, I leave a little bit of myself in the gym, honestly. I'd rather be a little undersized at lightweight and be able to be who I am in the gym. And if I get my ass whooped that way, then I'm at peace with it. Because I know sometimes at 45, I'm like, man, the weight cut, whatever, no excuses. But that ain't the guy that's in the gym all the time. I think at lightweight, it's the real me. Plus, the record is whatever. You can't live in the past, but I've had a lot of shitty decisions go my way. And the people always say, well, the guys he beat ain't this or whatever. But the dudes that have beat me are elite. Besides maybe one, maybe early on. But besides that, the guys that beat me, I mean, look it up. If people want to do the research, they're good. I hang my hat on knowing I've been in there with some really good fighters, but that's all, you're only as good as your last fight, whether that's a win or a lose. So you go out here on Saturday and get a knockout. I'm the man. I go out there and get my ass whooped, and then I don't have it no more. I need to hang it up. We know how this goes in the MMA world. I don't let the noise don't get to me.
Yeah, it's super interesting, man, with your perspective, not only as a fighter, but a promoter and a coach, that you do see all these angles. You're talking about a lot of stuff that I personally look at too, and I wanted to talk to you about that. These high quality losses on your record. A lot of people will just pull up Tapology and see a record and make a judgment based on that record, but you don't really get a sense of who a fighter is until you dig into not just their wins, but I would argue their losses are maybe even more important. When you see these high quality losses, you get a sense that, okay, this guy's definitely better than his record shows. And that's certainly what you are. So what does that mean to you, knowing that you've banked all this experience, maybe dropped some tough fights, and kind of out there to represent that, you are better than it looks on paper to the average Joe?
Yeah, like I said, people look on Tapology. You can have a guy 5-6-0 or a guy that's around 500, but like so many guys even ranked below me at lightweight. I really don't even look at the rankings, but whatever. It's guys that could be 6 and 8, man. But if you look at these guys, because these guys kind of get on these things where they're like, "Hey, call this guy as a promoter. I know he'll take the fight." So they take these hard fights out of state over and over and over. And then you look at their record and you're like, well, they're not that good, but they're a whole lot better than you think they are. They're fighting somebody's hometown guy multiple times over, and I was that guy at one time. But I finally got smarter, but I ain't, I'm taking hard fights still. This is my third fight on the road this year that's a hard fight. But it's just, it's got to be ready for those fights. And early on, I probably wasn't ready for those moments. Fighting on big stages, wasn't quite ready. I was a white belt fighting legit black belts, and was still in there. So they're like, I'm fighting another black belt Saturday. I'm like, I've been doing this shit for 10 years ago. This ain't nothing to me. I respect everybody's belt rank, but it's like I did that shit as a white belt with no grappling.
Yeah.
It's like, the killer be killed mentality has been there the whole time. I've trained, been to Stockton, California, trained with all the Diaz Army, been to Matt Brown's gym. I've competed with these guys. I'm like, well, damn, I'm right here. I can compete with these guys. So it's time for me to start showing that on the bright lights. And I tell some of my younger fighters that I was like, to a sense, camp does matter, but really it don't make a fucking tell what it goes on under the bright lights. You can have a great camp and go out there and get caught, and people are like, man, he ain't that good or whatever. Or you could do a half-ass camp and eat like crap, cut the corners, drink beer, party, get a knockout, and you're the man for the night. So really, this is the time and place. Like Matt Brown says, when you fight somebody, you can fight them 5 minutes later, things will be way differently. I think people put too much, don't get it twisted. Wins are huge, but people put too much. You see, looking at my record, of like, this or whatever. I don't really dig into all that stuff. Like, honestly, I didn't even really dig into who's Ethan's lost, who he hasn't won. I know it's pretty cool with the Ethans that they fought. Both, Ethan Goss fought Ethan Hayes, and we fought. I don't think none of that matters. But then it's like, my guys watched his interview. I guess I didn't watch it, but they're like, he said that doesn't matter. But then he goes back and says that the guys that I beat are on his level. So it's like, well, you said MMA math doesn't work, but then you're saying it works. So like, it's all for fun for people to talk about and build the fights up. But at the end of the day, we're going to fight Saturday night. I'm going to be there on weight, ready to go. He's going to be there ready to go. The fans are going to be ready to rock. We're going to deliver a good fight. That's a guarantee. Anything after that, there's no predictions for me. He's coming to take me out. I know that. I'm coming to take him out. I ain't no fucking easy walk in the park for nobody on the regional level. He's not either. I could have sat back and relaxed and, defended my belt on my show or waited till March for Shogun, whatever it may be. But I was like, no, I'm taking the hardest fucking fight I can get. That's y'all's 247. Pound for pound champ. That's the fight I want. I talked to you about it. Had other options. I said, that's the fight I want, and that's what's happening.
Made it happen, brother. That got me hyped, dude. I was already super excited about this fight, but you just got me goosebumping up over here a little bit. It's going to be crazy when the lights go down the Monroeville Convention Center, man. And it is an honor to have you out, brother. I know we tried to run you versus Kama obviously a couple months ago, and that unfortunately fell out for no illegitimate reason. It was a super legit reason, and those things happen. But it's just, I appreciate you sticking with us and coming back for this one, because like you said, this is kind of like the pound for pound at 247 in this area, the champ, and then you obviously holding 2 titles and doing everything you've done. It's a huge fight, man. So it's just an honor to have it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the regional scene, people can downplay it, but I think, I don't like to shit on the other promotions and stuff, but it's like the main event last week, and I seen was a guy that was 0-0 versus a 1-0 guy, which they're good fighters, but I'm like, when I put it out there, I'm like, this is a real main event. You're talking about 2 guys that have a crap ton of fights. They're not just fights, but skill level is high. So, I mean, when it comes to a regional level, I think as for a main event, this is about as big as you're going to get.
No doubt, man. Well, you got me even more jazzed for it, brother. I'm gonna let you get back to your night, but I appreciate you popping in and dropping some wisdom. I think our audience is very familiar with Ethan Goss for obvious reasons, as many times as he's fought. But I appreciate you coming and letting them know what you're about too, because for people who have followed the game or who are in that world of regional MMA, you're a guy who everybody's known about for a long time. And like I said at the beginning, not just the fighting, but the coaching, running the gym, the promotion, everything you do, man, it doesn't go unnoticed. So it's just an honor to work with you, man. I appreciate you making some time for us here.
I appreciate you guys. The opportunity, you always treat me top notch. I got nothing but good things to say about you guys. So I'll see y'all this weekend. I'm ready to represent.
It means a lot, brother. We'll see you super soon, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Enjoy your night. Take care. All right, everybody. That was Chris the Rocket Rollins, one half of our main event this Saturday at Brawl in the Burgh 25 in the Monroeville Convention Center. And as he said there at the end, if you don't get excited about that, then you need to check your pulse, man. This is a huge matchup. 2 of the absolute best pro featherweights in the area going up against each other for the belt. I said featherweights and they're lightweights. They're featherweights and lightweights. All right. All right. It's a valid mistake. They're both two division guys, but they are fighting at 155 on Saturday. And the belt's on the line. Ethan's been our champ for what feels like forever at this point. And Rollins is a champion level guy, and they're going to stand in the middle of the cage and duke it out to see who goes home with that, as he said, lovely 247 strap, which I must say, it is a very pretty belt, and I look forward to you guys seeing it in person. So get down to Monroeville Convention Center this Saturday. Doors open at 6. The actual opening bell will be 7 p.m., so make sure you're there early. Get a parking spot, get to your seat, and have some fun. Get your tickets at 247fighting.com, and we will see you all Saturday. See you then.